All right, so what I've done here is I've attached my hard side of the collar stand, which has the heavyweight interface. This is attached at 1/4 inch, and I start from the center and work my way out so I can manage less space every time. After I do that, I'm gonna actually flip it over and I'm gonna start stitching at 1/4 inch my softer side of my collar stand, which isn't interfaced. Same thing, I start from the center and work out to the ends just in order to manage less. Once I get right to 1/4 on my hard side, I'll know because I'll see the stitching from the hard side. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna stitch out the rest from here to here, as well on this side. Once I get to here, I'm gonna stitch out that way. And it's all based on my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So therefore, since this is 1/4, I've pressed it up just to train the fabric to go up this way. And on this side, I've pre-pressed 1/4 here. Now that I have this, I'm gonna trim away this corner to soften this edge. Not too close, so I don't lose any of my stitch. And then same on this edge. All right, so now I'm ready to flip this inside out. And I can use my bone tool here to smooth this edge out. As well as this side. And now that I've pre-pressed this 1/4, I'm going to lay it down right at this stitch. So this stitch will be my guide for laying this side of the collar stand down, and I will top stitch just above this stitch. Therefore, when we go back over to this side, my 16th top stitch will be right in the same place on both sides. So I'm going to start at this end. I'm going to get all of my seam allowance here, fold it down cleanly. Therefore, when it comes all together, have a clean start. Okay, so now that I have my corner in place, I want to make sure to pull my actual collar in order to straighten out both sides of my stands. You don't want anything hiding. You want this taut. And you want to maintain both sides. Next, I want to make sure that I'm going just covering my original stitch. And I'm going to walk this down the entire way. Now also keep in mind that we've got a lot of ground to cover here. So make sure that you're maintaining everything. You can use this notch with this notch to make sure that you're managing all of this fabric from point A to point B. So I am gonna give a little tension. I'm gonna pull just a bit, not too much, but just enough to keep everything in place. So as I'm walking, I'm readjusting and making sure that I'm right at that original stitch. Readjust all of this, make sure we're smooth and nothing's hiding. Check my original stitch again and continue. Check, make sure I'm good here still. And continue. Now that I've reached the halfway point, I'm going to prep my end on this side for when I get there. Tuck my seam allowances up under. Make sure I have a sharp, clean point. And get right back. Now I'm still pulling down from this point to give just enough tension to make sure that I don't have any bunching and my top stitch remains smooth. Not too much in order to start a whole separate pulling action, but just enough to keep everything smooth and maintained. Make sure that I have my corner extra sharp by using either the awl. So actually, let me use the awl. So in order to keep my point over here sharp and looking how we need it to look, I'm going to use the awl. Just make sure that all of my seam allowance is tucked and clean. Now that we have our point ready to go, let's finish our stitch. As you see, we're at a 16th on the other side as well. Okay, so now I have pressed my collar stands. I've got my edges all smooth and everything. And I'm gonna finish with a final 16th top stitch right along my stand. Once again, I'm giving this a little bit of tension, just enough so I know that nothing's hiding, and we end up with a smooth top stitch.